Once a crown jewel of Cartoon Network, a billion-dollar empire that captivated an entire generation. Ben 10 wasn't just a show, it was a movement. But today, it's a shadow of what it used to be. It all began in 2005. A 10-year-old boy finds a mysterious alien watch, the Omnitrix, and suddenly, kids everywhere wanted to be Ben Tennyson. The concept was simple but genius. Aliens, action, humor, and just enough depth to make you care. Ben 10 became a phenomenon. It raked in over $4.5 billion in toy sales alone. By the time Alien Force and Ultimate Alien hit, the franchise started shifting. The stakes were higher, the tone matured. But behind the scenes, the network had one thing in mind: sell more toys. Alien designs weren't just about story anymore. They were about shelf appeal. If a new alien couldn't be turned into an action figure, it probably didn't make the cut. Writers were stretched. Fans noticed the stories felt rushed. Plot holes grew, and yet, the machine kept moving. Then came Omniverse, a bold, colorful reboot with a jarring art style. Some loved it, most didn't. The franchise was now pumping out over 50 episodes per season. Instead of tightening the story, they bloated it. More aliens, more jokes, less heart. It was quantity over quality. And fans began walking away. Quick pause here. If you've made it this far, then you clearly care about this story as much as I do. I grew up with these shows too, and watching what happened to them hurts. That's why I make these deep dives. Not just to remember, but to reveal the truth behind what went wrong. So if you've ever wished these stories still had the soul they used to, consider subscribing. It's free, and it tells me you want more honest storytelling like this. Alright, back to the breakdown. In 2016, Cartoon Network pulled the trigger. A full reboot. Different voices, stripped-down characters, and a tone that spoke down to its audience. The reboot was designed for a younger audience, but it alienated the core fan base. Gone were the moral struggles, the arcs, the relationships. It was now a Saturday morning cash grab, built for cheap toys and quick ratings. To really understand how Ben 10 ended up like this, we need to look beyond the show and behind the scenes. Because this wasn't just a case of bad writing. This was a classic case of a great idea being buried under corporate pressure and creative burnout. See, when Ben 10 blew up in the mid-2000s, Cartoon Network didn't just see a hit show. They saw merchandising gold. The Omnitrix alone made over $100 million in toy sales at its peak. Every alien form meant more toys, more video games, more clothing lines. And the more money it made, the more the network wanted. So the orders came down. We need more aliens, more spin-offs, faster release schedules. And at first, the creators kept up. Ben 10 Alien Force? A bold, mature shift. Ultimate Alien? Still had a strong fan base. But by the time Omniverse came around, the cracks were showing. Behind the scenes, the original creators, Duncan Rouleau, Joe Casey, and the rest of the Man of Action team, had less and less control. They were stretched thin, tired. Cartoon Network began prioritizing younger demographics again. So the tone had to get lighter, the designs had to get goofier, the stakes had to be lower. And in 2016, everything reset. A full reboot. New voice cast, simplified animation. Ben wasn't 15 anymore. He was back to 10. But this time with none of the character development. It was clear. The reboot wasn't made for us. It was made to relaunch the toy line. And to be fair, it worked. For a while, toy sales ticked back up. Merchandise moved. But the soul, the legacy, that got lost somewhere in the boardroom. The worst part? The fan base was still there, still begging for a darker, mature version of Ben's story. Something like a full animated series showing Ben as an adult, dealing with real consequences of wielding power that massive. But the network never gave it a chance. Because that kind of story doesn't sell toys. It sells truth. And truth, in a franchise that's now more business than art, is bad for profit. Sales dipped, merch flopped, fans stopped tuning in. And without them, the heart of Ben 10 faded. What once felt timeless, now felt disposable. Even diehard fans asked, is this still Ben 10? And the answer? Not really.
It wasn't bad writing alone, it was greed, corporate greed, that demanded more episodes, more aliens, more toys, without ever asking, what made this show great in the first place? Because Ben 10 wasn't just about aliens. It was about responsibility, about growing up, about heart. Ben Tennyson had the power to save the world, but his franchise, it couldn't save itself from the one thing it fought against: corruption. In the end, greed won. If this video brought back memories, if you ever ran around pretending to be Ben 10 or waited all week just to watch that one new episode, then you're not alone. This channel is for people like us, the ones who grew up loving these stories and now want to understand what really happened to them. So if you care about the shows that shaped your childhood, hit that subscribe button. Not just for me, for the kid you used to be. Let's bring back the magic.